Okay. Um, um, I've not been making videos for a while, so I'm kind of making it up now and making videos. I don't care how repetitive things are. With me, it's just I want to continuously show patterns of what they do. What you're gonna say, what you're gonna hear today is something you heard a million times from me. Obviously, I'm not saying literally a million times, but you heard that a lot of times. Uh, I've been walking around with this like camera on my pockets, making sure that every time they mess with me, they manipulate me, I record this and I show. I take a screenshot of everybody every children they make me experience nasty things toward, so I can make videos about it because that's what they do. It's nasty, and it's babies of all ages, like little babies to older kids to kids in the middle, all that. They always do this particular type of torture. It's always nasty, and of course, the younger, the worse it is for me to experience. It's disgusting. And then try to tell me how I'm gonna be tortured, as if this torture does not bring out the fact that these people do torture children. They do the pedophilia type of torture, and the entities that contract these low lives are actually filled with pedophiles. Reality is something they've created for themselves, and regardless of what they create for themselves, reality will always come up. Now, I know what reality I mean. I know what program I mean. I'm not a program where they try to figure who you are. It's a program to manipulate you, to make you experience disturbing things, to break you down, because there's results that they need from this breakdown of the target individual. And the tactic they use is pedophilia centric, and you slowly fade away, and lose touch of reality. And the reality they've created becomes a reality that you experience, but it's a falsified reality. And so me making these videos, regardless of what's gonna happen to me, is to bring back reality. And of course, because of the humiliations of the reality they're in, they're gonna be extra with me. Because somehow they thought I was gonna let them escape into a reality where that makes sense. And I won't. Just 2 seconds ago, I saw a picture of this little girl, 5-year-old little girl, like little Hispanic girl. They start doing the pedophilia type of torture. They're like, no, remember what you did as a kid. And they try to find ways to get you to accept this. Oh, of course, I know it's not me when I was a kid. I know it's what you guys do. They force you to have pedophilia reactions. And then they try to find ways to make you think in a logical way about these things. And they're like, no, but now you pay for it. Now, listen. These are people who are literally torturing this little girl. Like, can torture kids as young as this little girl I just saw. They can torture kids, and they have tortured children as young as that little 5-year-old I saw. So you understand these people are here torturing babies as young as that. So try to talk about what an 8th grader, a kid who just turned 14 years old, did to himself as a child. While they are here torturing children, it's kind of like, and they're like, pay for it. It's like, yeah, look, well, they pay for doing this then, for torturing babies. So do you understand the reality? They know. And I'm an adult. And you cannot make me think, oh, yeah, we're making you think like a child. And it makes sense. Of course they can't. So every time they try to make me subscribe to this thing, they go, oh, you're going to get knocked out. Or you're going to get burned. Or they're going to pull an eye out. Because what I just said sounds like what I just said. And they want to look at you like, you see, it's what you did as a kid. No, it's what you make me experience today. What I did as a child is what a child is capable of doing. You've seen these kids. You see how kids are. And they try to make me think of a kid. Who's about like 14, middle school, a little kid. But she was a little bit more mature than typical like middle schooler. But they were trying to make me have sexual stimulation toward her. It's like, you see? It's like, what? She's a kid. She's a baby that you forced me to experience some nasty experience toward this kid. I made a last video about her. I said, kids are kids. But I know who I'm talking to. They're not here to create a reality they try to present a false reality. When I see this 5-year-old little girl, they do these disturbing pedophilia things. As always, it's like, no, it matches. Remember what you did as a kid? It's like, no, what I did to myself as a child. A kid who just couldn't do anything. It's a kid. I understand you guys are these pedophiles that these entities are filled with. That's why there's so many pedophiles. Because you force people to experience nasty things for kids and then try to make them think in these illogical ways. They hate these things because they've been humiliated. But the fact that the same entities that contract them, these people are just the bottom feeders. You know who these people are. I remember I was in the airport. I was listening to what I was saying. And I was saying, do you really think that it's a 13, 14-year-old kid? Is that really the issue when you're in this entity field with these pedophiles? When you guys are doing these things to babies? I could hear her almost crying because she's a perp supposed to make me subscribe to these things. And the reality is just too much. I'm out here telling them, pay, die. Program that is out here frying and doing horrible things to babies as young as 3-year-old. Entities that are in charge of these things filled with pedophiles. They do the pedophile type of torture systematically. They use these childlike individuals to try to we are war. No, it's humiliating. I had this thing on my camera. I wish somehow I didn't. I don't know if they did something, but it seems like it was working perfectly and then it stopped working. I have this camera next to a neighbor. I go to the elevator. I see this little. I don't even see it. I look away, but I know that I can see like the blur of these little babies. All the stimulation they made me experience, nasty. They know that's what they do. And they want you to identify with this pedophilia thing. You see this older man living in next door neighbor. Try to be like he's looking at her. I've shown him for what trash he is. And try to be like, no, we just match it to you when you were a kid. Yeah, okay, there is pedophilia type of torture that you do. And yes, low life, there's a bunch of pedos in these entities contracting this low lifeness. And it makes sense. And they try to use the different tonality. No, there is. Yes, you are correct, there is. That, you're absolutely right. And you know what I mean. And I'm seeing this man is like, you sold your soul to pedophiles and you're here trying to make me subscribe to these pedophile things. You guys were renowned to force people to have pedophile thoughts about kids. Because you use this tonality, oh, there is. And I look at them like, you can't even say that in my face without, yes, there is. You are forcing people to experience pedophile thoughts and stimulation toward children. That is your job. And then you try to make somebody subscribe to it. And then for me, they're like, no, but what you did as a kid, there is. He's just proof because when you were a kid, you did these stupid things to yourself. First of all, they're having to add the memories of stimulation of that nature. The reality is a kid did something stupid to himself one time. I know they know that. Of course, I know they're not that retarded. They're not that illogical. They have to make themselves be to make this thing make sense, to manipulate me into accepting these things, which I still don't. So when they make me look at a 5-year-old kid like that, they try to make me, no, but remember what you did as a kid. It's like, no, that's what you make me experience. Of course, I know this started happening since August 19, 2019, but I'll never let you leave that fantasy of thinking that I'll subscribe to this. Because your job is to continuously make me believe this thing is naturally happening. So when I bleed, when I'm screaming, when I'm in pain, do you think I'll be like, oh my gosh, these people did not do the pedophilia type of torture? They're not doing this. And they're not torturing babies. They're not, the entities that contract these slow lives are not filled with pedophiles. Oh, they're not suffocating 7-year-old autistic kids. Oh, they're watching. That means they're not out here hurting kids sexually. To all my target individual, I know who I am, and I know this manipulation. They try to make this noise campaign, this performance, this theatrical performance they try to make you accept. I've seen these low lives in all shape and form. You see the mothers wanting you to look at their babies so they can do the pedophile type of torture. It's like, no, you pay for what you did as a kid. What? Do you know what I can hear, listen, and what you guys do to babies? And in my mind, they try to make me think of this kid. They will try to force me to get stimulated. And because this kid, although she's like 14, 13 years old, she's a little bit more mature. She has a little bit of maturity in her, but she still look like a kid. See how mature she was? Like, no, she's still a baby. She's still a kid. I don't care how mature she's trying to act. So it's a child that you want me to be stimulated toward. Go see the next door neighbor. Go see a 13-year-old. Go have a conversation with a 13, 14-year-old kid in 8th grade. Watch how they talk to you. You're going to hear a child talking to you. Now, of course, I know they know these things. Some of them have kids that are young, 13, 14 years old. They will make me look at their kids and make me have these pedophilia things. But I know what you guys do. And when they force me to have these pedophilia stimulations, and they'll be like, that's how you used to see it when you were a kid. Like, of course I know. I know. That's what you're making me experience today. So you're going to do your nasty pedophilia things. The target, which is me in this case, will not subscribe to it. He's going to be screaming, dying, and then all that. And then you die not knowing what the F is going to happen to you. But guarantee you, this is going to come back. As sure as you're going to see me tortured, I'm sure this thing is going to come back to you. You've been too humiliated. Humiliation that's unbelievable. If this is not like all the different obviousness that something's gonna come to this low life, I'm so thankful they had to stoop to this level. The entities right now that are in charge of these things, pedophilia central. The people they're using here, these bottom feeders, childlike individuals, because this technology does not need the creme de la creme, as much as they try to make themselves look like they're sensible, whatever. There are testimonials that almost all target individuals are forced to experience this pedophilia type of torture. And do you know what they say? No, they are. It's still when you're a kid. You should listen to them. I should show the baby they try to make me think that this is I should subscribe to. That's why they hate me. Because as a target individual, I'm supposed to be like, no, it's so me. It's like, no, trash is your pedophilia type of torture that you do. And guess what? You know who's the pedos? Yes, projecting like a motherfucker. These people have problem with pedophiles in their entities. These people are just the bottom feeders. These people have been using pedophilia as a main way of breaking a target's personality and ego and breaking them down this ways. Till my last breath, I will not even give them an ounce of fantasy. They can bring all the childlike individuals. They can find refuge in my torture. It's not going to let them. I'd rather starve in the streets than having to do what they do. Try to cover up the facts. And everybody around me knows that. When they try to go into their scripts, death comes to all of us. This trash talking to me is going to die. Some have died doing this thing to me. Some have died with humiliations of knowing that this guy is not subscribing to it. I remember yesterday, I come back from the airport, this guy is staring at me, it's you. And I look back, I was like, and I stopped for a second. He just turns quietly back. Not because he's intimidated, it's because he thought I would ever identify with these things. He was mistaken. And they're like, you're gonna fight? So what? Fight. What do you? Whoever I'm gonna fight knows that the pedophilia type of torture is what these people do. And they're like, no, we proved this. Like, yeah. And the thing is with them is, they're like, no, you see, they're all involved, so that we proved it. It's like, do you think I don't know what this program is about? Your whole ecosystem, these mothers, women with children, they are here doing the pedophilia type of torture. Some of them are even being slanderers, calling them pedophiles. They're mothers and women, like, it's so nasty. And there's women who, like, they do this pedophilia type of torture. Can you imagine? A mom with children, forcing her to experience nasty stimulation. A teacher who's teaching kids, they force her to get stimulations. Doing baby powder smells, giving her like a sense of a smell of a baby powder nature, and then giving her sexual stimulation that's pedophilia centric. It's like, now you're mad at me, huh? I'm not even trying to be comical. That's what they say. That's how they sound. To agitate me. And they're like, no, it's you and you. And I'm looking at a picture of like a year before I took whatever dumb thing I did to myself. I'm like, you guys are delusional if you think I'm going to let you escape from this. I'm not going to let you go into your la la land. And now they try to compare the maturity of a kid that made me get nasty sexual stimulation yesterday. Because she's like, she's a kid. You can see she has like kid body and everything. Like she's like, I'll give her like no younger than 16, between 13 and 15. Kid, she looked like a kid's body. They were doing everything to try to make me look. I was like, I'm looking at her. She's a kid. She's a baby. But she has tried to use like adult mannerism a little bit. I was like, oh, and see how she's mature. I was like, oh my gosh. Listen, not all kids are mature. Kids are kids. She might be a mature kid, but unfortunately, I was not that mature, and a lot of kids are not mature. They're children. And so children do things like that. Now, I'm speaking to people who know these things. I'm not, their job is to break me down because they're making me experience pedophilia things. And then implanting this into my childhood, making me experience what I'm experiencing today in my childhood. It's like, no, we match it to you when you were a kid. This is how you would see it when you were a kid. That alone is retarded. But on top of that, they're manipulating my memories. I can't let them live this fantasy. And they use these childlike people who are going to be like repeating things. They're like, yeah, that's your job. And then you die. Tell my target individuals stay strong. I've never let them live the fantasy. But with me, if I could bring, I'll do the same thing every day, like 20 times a day. And keep bringing up the same things. Why is there so many pedophiles in these agencies? They're using the pedophilia type of torture. Almost all target individuals are forced to see child porn in their mind. They use this program of perversion aimed toward children. This trans woman is saying, oh, they've tried to change who I am. Putting thoughts of pedophilia. Now we match it to you when you were a kid. There it is. Okay. It's the non-linear correlations. They come up with ways to try to make me subscribe to these things. I'm like, you're so delusional. She think I'm gonna let you escape this fantasy from this fantasy. In my mind, they even try to bring some work stuff. Like what? To try to get you to like subscribe to these things. I will not let you escape. You are doing the pedophilia type of torture. You are manipulating me to experience these pedophilia things. But it's not only me you've done that to, you've done it to so many others, including women and men all around the world. This pedophilia type of torture has, out of 1,000 target individuals, majority have said that this pedophilia things is what they experience. In their mind, they're trying to make me think that's just a coincidence. That almost all target individuals get this child porn implanted in their mind. But for me, it's a coincidence. You just got lucky. We are not doing the pedophilia type of torture. It's you when you're a child. Out of 1,000. Petition remotes pedophilia as a symptom. It's a coincidence. These people are delusional. Bunch of low-life pedophiles that wants you to subscribe to something that's not natural.